let's call it like $3,000, right? And you skyrocket to like 20 grand. And it's like, whoa, where'd that money come from? Like, how do I manage that, right? And then you're continually adding things and people to your base, right? And when I say it was like 3 to 20, that was like 3 to 20 within a matter of days. Because I signed my first client, called my boy Martel. I think I told this story before here on YouTube. Called Martel and I said, yo, I got a client. He was like, yo, you gonna quit? Because we told each other we'd quit once we start signing people, right? Because he was running his business and he also needed clients to quit his what he was in. So I get these clients now and I was like, yo, I got one. The next day I got two. The next day after that, I got three, got four. Whoa, now you got a whole thing running that you got to juggle. Now you can quit Coke. So you quit Coke. And so you learn, I think my first year, I was learning a shit ton of lessons in how to be an entrepreneur. Because first of all, when you go from 3K a month to 20K a month, a lot changes that way, but a lot doesn't change in your brain because you don't know how to juggle all that stuff just yet. And you haven't read enough books. Right? You haven't done all the back work. You haven't done, and if you did, that's great. But if you didn't, you have to go through the lessons to learn. So there's going to be things that you have to go through to learn, right? So don't fight the lessons that you have to learn while in the process of becoming what you asked for, right? So if you're in a fucked up position, if you're in an interesting position right now, you have to go through certain processes that you don't even know you require because you've asked to be somewhere. Right? So if whatever your end goal is, it requires you to learn something before you get there. And the only way you're going to get there is if you learn it. And even if you work it backwards and say, hey, I am that person, and then you are like, you have this imposter syndrome, it still doesn't mean that you are that person. It means that you are going to showcase and attract being that person because you're going to do the things that the person needs to do or does already, right? But you're still going to have to learn and go through the processes and going through the motions of what it takes to be that person. You can't fake that. There's nothing that comes to you that is faked. You can fake it to make it, yes, because you understand that there are times they get up, this is what they do, they limit their distractions, they work on things constantly, they're always thinking of a growth mindset, blah, 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 blah. But what happens in life that has to, the lessons in life that have to teach you about how to continue to be a better human being / better entrepreneur / better destination of whatever you want. You have to go through that process. So allow the process to happen to you or happen for you. Because if you fight it, the more you fight it, the harder it's going to be. Because just because you're fighting it doesn't mean that, oh, you're going to get through it at the time you should have. No, if you just let it take its course on you, you're going to get there. But if you fight it, you're going to waste energy, money, efforts with other people. You might burn relationships. I've been there. I've done it. I fought like fighting it, giving it resistance when all you need to do is sit back and allow the river to flow. Because it's not going to be nice. You have to go through some shit. You have to learn some shit, right? And even 3 years later, I'm still in a position where now you've learned so much, but then you figure out that you now know so much about the game that you realize everything you know gives you almost like a crutch to realize that I know nothing. Because you're learning so much all the time that you realize somewhere along the line that, bro, the amount of information I have is good and it's better than most, but it makes you feel like shit. There is so much more to learn that I have no clue about, right? So allow that process to mold you, because if you don't, you're going to be fucking fighting for no reason. You'll be fighting for much longer than you had anticipated. So allow that river to flow, allow the stream to come, allow it to knock you over, allow it to cause pain, allow yourself to cry, give yourself grace. There's one thing I suck at, and it's giving myself grace to understand that regardless or not of what's happening to you on the external, it's working on you on the internal, and that things are hard on the external, right? But that doesn't mean that you're not doing enough or you're not good enough or your self-worth is diminishing. No. And that's a lesson that a lot of us entrepreneurs have to learn, is to detach ourselves from the self-worth of having the material things, right? So detach yourself from having the material things that justify your self-worth. Your self-worth isn't based on the external outcomes that you get, because you're going to realize there are going to be seasons where you get no external outcomes. Does that mean that your internal self-worth is now shit? No. That just means that you just didn't garnish the things that were external, and sometimes that's a good thing, because you don't need them at that time. And this was a character building season, or this was a lesson learning season, or this was a key integral part of why you become what you asked for at the end, because you went through this season with no external gratification, no external achievements, no external or materialistic things are coming to you, because you had to learn certain lessons to move yourself forward. I have 101 fucking stories of painful fucking lessons that I had to learn and go through, right? To get to a space of understanding that I am the entrepreneur, right? And my self-worth is not attached to any of the material successes that come to me for being such an entrepreneur, right? But it's a self-development journey that continues to garnish you the experience of life. It continues to give you success because you become that person, and your self-worth isn't attached to the outcomes of being that person. You just are that, and you just be that. So if you're looking to be an entrepreneur, take the time to allow yourself to go through the process. It's painful. You're going to have to deal with shit that no one else is going to have to deal with. Right? You're going to have to deal with shit that you thought you could never deal with, right? You're going to have to go through shit that's going to teach you. So allow it to teach you. Bro, it's tough, bro. It's tough. This year taught me so much. So much, right? And I wouldn't have been able to receive it if I didn't release off of the mindset that my self-worth was attached to the outcomes. When you first get that blow up season, or not that blow up season, but that season that dramatically alters your reality, you're going to be put in a space of, wow, this is possible. Wow, all of this material stuff is real. Wow, I can fly in the most luxury way. I can sleep in the most luxury hotels. I can get on a plane whenever I feel like it. I own my time now, X, Y, Z. But what happens when all of that comes to you, and then the next year, now it's all about learning the lessons that upkeep this for the long term and not just the short term? Because you might see everybody around flashing, oh, I'm on a plane here, I'm on a plane there, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that shit's facade. And those of us who live it for real know that there are going to be ups and downs. Your life is going to ebb and flow as an entrepreneur, and you're going to have to go through some dramatic changes on lessons that you think you know, but you really don't know because you've never experienced them. Reading a book, watching a video, and living it are three different things, right? And the one that teaches you the most is when you live through that experience. So you might as well take the time to read the book, right? Watch the videos on YouTube, but prepare yourself to actually go through that season. Because if you think this shit is just la jets and fucking Hollywood, you're in for a rough ride. And worse, if your self-worth is tied to the materialistic outcomes that you get from being this person, you're going to be fucked, because there are going to be seasons where you get nothing besides self-development and growth. Pain. Sums up my 2024, right? There are lessons that I just didn't want to learn, didn't want to accept. There are people I had to let go that I didn't want to do. There are boundaries that had to be made that I still didn't want to do. There are things that even now, I understand that I have to do, but I'm still going through that active lesson as an entrepreneur, right? And so it's a lot. It's a lot. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, I would really say take the time to understand what you're asking for and where you want to go, because you're going to have to go through a lot to become the person that you so crave to be. Because there's a fire in you that's not going to turn off just because you feel like things are going hard. There's a fire in you that will never turn off just because, my external life, it looks like it's mashing apart. A lot of the shit that you're going to have to do is personal work, and personal work requires you to unravel all of the tension that you have clamped onto it of the person that you think you are right now, because the person that you're required to be requires that fucking tightrope to be unraveled and sometimes even braided back tighter in a different configuration. So take the time to learn. It's okay. We all go through it, bro. 2024 whooped my ass this year. Right? And even business-wise, in the last 3-4 months, whooped my ass. Lowest parts of business I've ever had. Swung real low. Thought the fucking plane was gonna crash, right? And then, but as I've said before, even when the plane crashes, even when there's a malfunction, even when you have to fucking land to work on the parts so that the plane flies better, it's better than when it took off. right? So even when you think you're in a great spot and your plane's flying and soaring high, if it were to crash and you were to learn lessons and learn new things, you could build that plane up again faster, and it would go even more efficiently, or even that much higher in the sky, or soar that much longer, simply because you're learning lessons that you need to have in your life to become the person that you said you wanted to be. Right? And if you want the fucking remove distractions list that got me out of that 9 to 5 to build that 6-7 figure business in 2022, it's in my description below. But hey, subscribe and there will be more videos, more videos, and we're gonna roll out something real nice in January that'll help everybody that is looking to jump on this life of entrepreneurship, because it's not the bullshit that people describe on the internet. Holla.
Boy, Mr. Brown,